Welcome back to Southern Character, where we share true life stories of grit and grace from inspirational people who leave lasting impressions on those they meet. I am your host, James Lewis, and today I am here on Rocky Top, Tennessee, with the voice of the Vols, Mr. Bob Kesling. You are the longest-serving member of the Vol Network and cornerstone of Tennessee athletics on radio and television. Bob, welcome to Southern Character.
Well, it's nice to be with you today, James. It's when you say that, it makes me feel really old. But I was really fortunate when I came down from Ohio to come to Tennessee as a walk-on fullback back in 1972 that I got hooked up with the Vol Network when I was in school. And I've done a little bit of everything for the past 50 years, somehow connected with UT. So it's been great. But I've had a chance to do a lot of different things in broadcasting. I was a local TV anchor. I did network TV for Jefferson Pilot, SEC football and basketball. I've done ESPN games. I've done Westwood One radio. And I've never had to move my family one time.
That's amazing.
Which is great because in our business, you know, a lot of the broadcasters are kind of like nomads. I mean, they go for a year here or 2 years there, and they move around. But I've done so many wonderful things in my career, and I kind of look back at it now and pinch myself a little bit, how the great opportunities I've had. But I've never had to uproot my family. So my kids, you know, in the middle of their high school year, you don't have to move them to another high school.
Right, like, hey, congratulations, you're going to be a senior somewhere else.
Exactly. And you got to change friends and all that stuff. So it has just been, I couldn't have written a better script.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So should I call you Bob or Bobby? I was watching a clip and I saw Rick Barnes say something like, well, I don't know. I don't care for Bob Kesling, but I love Bobby Kesling. Right. So what should I call you?
Well, we have a running joke that we're a TV show that we have to do every week is the Ricky Bobby Show.
Okay. Love it.
So anyway, Coach Barnes he's a jokester, and we have a lot of fun. Bob's fine. That's what I've always gone with.
So we'll go with Bob, not Bobby. Okay. But so you mentioned you've had an amazing career that spanned 5 decades. One of the most powerful things that I read was, and this really struck me, it's an entire generation of Tennessee fans has grown up knowing only your voice for football and basketball broadcasts. And in terms of awards and recognitions, not that we need to pump Bob up, and I'm going to go ahead and pump you up a little bit because it really is amazing what you've accomplished. You were recently inducted into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame this past summer. You've also been inducted into the Tennessee Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame. That was 2020. The Greater Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame in 2015. And as you said, currently you host 2 call-in shows, at least that I'm aware of, Vols Calls, the Big Orange Hotline, and then you have on the Vol Television Network, the Josh Heupel Show and the Rick Barnes Show, right? So what else do you have going on currently in your bag of tricks?
That's probably enough right there to keep me busy. But
that's a lot of orange,
yeah,
sir.
It is. But, I also try and stay very busy in the community. I'm on the Goodwill board here, and we have a fabulous Goodwill that serves a lot of people. I'm very involved in leukemia, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I found out about 10 years ago I had T-cell lymphoma, which is it's a blood cancer. Something else is going to kill me as long as I monitor this. But that's got me involved with leukemia and lymphoma, trying to get those people, help those people. And I do a lot of speaking because, especially for charitable groups, because somebody told me once, when you have the opportunity to help somebody else, you have the right to say yes. And that's kind of the way I've kind of gone about my life. So I've tried to stay busy, and I'm a big brother, and big brothers, big sisters. Okay. My little brother, he's not little anymore. He's about 6'3". We've been together since he was 10 years old. He's
How old is he now?
26. He's in the Navy. He is now outside Atlanta. He's a recruiter, but he was on the USS Abraham Lincoln. He was on the USS Boxer for a while, a station in San Diego. And he's married. He's got a son who's turning 4 years old. And he's part of our family. William Large is his name, and he's just part of our family. And it's amazing. I got more out of it than he did, because I learned that the Kroger out in Farragut, where I live, is much different. The clientele there is much different than the Kroger out on Magnolia, where William lives. Okay. It's a different clientele. He lived in East Knoxville and didn't have any money, and so he lived a rough life. And but I was there for him. I told him, I'm one phone call away, and when you call, the cavalry's coming. Okay. So just let us know what you need. And that's been one of the most satisfying things I've ever done is being a big brother. Now he's part of our family, and he calls us mom and dad. It's been really remarkable. So he, this is an interesting story. We were sitting in San Diego when we went to visit him 2 years ago before he moved to Atlanta, got off the boat. And we were sitting there, and my wife was out with his wife and their little son. They were walking along the waterfront there in San Diego, and William and I were sitting there. And he said, when you came to my house 10 years ago, he didn't know who I was. He had no idea who I was. He was 10 years old, so what 10-year-olds do, they don't watch TV and they don't listen to the games and stuff. So anyway, I walked into his house. He had no idea who I was. And he's black, mom's white, and dad's not in the picture. And so we went out to dinner. I kind of laid the law out. I said, listen, I'm going to be here every Thursday night. We're going to go do something, whether it's studying or going to a movie or going to a ball game. We're going to do something every Thursday night. And I'm going to be here, every Thursday, and you better be here. And I said, you can't lie to me. If you don't show up without a good excuse, then we're done. And so I set the rules, and he abided by them. And we just had a wonderful relationship. I'd bring him over here, and he'd go play catch with Eric Berry, or he'd go, shoot baskets across the way with Grant Williams. And just had a great run over here. But the coaches, he met a lot of the coaches, and they kind of set him straight too. How are your grades and that kind of stuff. But we were sitting on this bench in San Diego, and I'll never forget that. He goes, after our first meeting, when you walked into my house and we met, we went out to dinner. He said, I didn't think you were going to come back. I said, why is that? He said, because I was black. I didn't think you'd come back because I was a black kid. And I said, William, I never viewed you as a black kid. I viewed you as a kid who was in trouble and needed a friend. So that really hit me hard. And you just wonder how many kids are out there that just need somebody to talk to them and need a friend. So I'm glad I was able to do that for William. And William now, through the Navy and his recruitment, he's paying it forward because he had a young girl who was a single mom who wanted to get into the Navy, but she flunked her academic. She passed the drug test, but she flunked her academic deal. And William said, all right, well, you come here, once a week, and I'm going to help you pass this academic test. So I'm thinking, it clicked in with him. Yeah. You pay it forward, and that's what he's doing. So I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him.
That's great that you did that, man. Seriously, that's really amazing.
We need more people to do that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you mentioned Ohio. So we'll take a step back. We're going to get back into Bob's roots. So were you born and raised in Ohio? How does one end up from Ohio to Tennessee? Give me a little more color around that.
Okay.
Bob is born. Let's start there.
My mom and dad grew up together in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
My mom was a music teacher. She went to Ohio Wesleyan, played the oboe, which was a very difficult instrument to play. My dad was a drum major at Ohio State, led the marching band. Script Ohio and all that kind of stuff. So they grew up from elementary school together. So they got married, and Dad became an insurance salesman out of Ohio State, and they sent him down to Dallas. And he represented Northwestern National and was really good at it. And so he basically ran the offices in Fort Worth and Dallas. And I was born in Dallas. Okay. And he bought a house in between Dallas and Fort Worth. So I grew up in Richland Hills. And then when I was in fourth grade, they got divorced. And so Mom came in one day and laid a suitcase on the bed and said, put what you can in that suitcase. We'll get the rest later. Let's go.
So you went with Mom?
We went with Mom back to Ohio, back to where she grew up. We lived with my grandmother for about 6 months till Mom got us a house. And so I went to high school in Dayton, played football and basketball and track and all that kind of stuff. And but so when I was getting ready to graduate, I want to go play football someplace. Right. I knew I wasn't very good, but I was being recruited by Ohio Wesleyan and Denison and some of those smaller schools, and so I was going to find a place to play. And I had a buddy who his dad knew Ray Mears, who was our great basketball coach here. He was used to coach at Wittenberg, which was in Springfield, just outside Dayton. So he was going to bring my buddy down here and talk to Coach Mears about him walking on the basketball team or being a manager, which he did. He did both. He made the freshman team and then became a manager during the Ernie and Bernie days here. But So they want to know if I want to come with them on the visit. I said, well, yeah, I got nothing else to do. So, yeah, I'll go with you. I didn't know where Tennessee was, and so I'm not even sure I could spell it back then. So anyway, I get on we take off, and we come down here. And so they go over to the basketball office to visit Coach Mears. Well, I'm not going to play basketball, so I'll just wander down to the football office and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I go into the football office, to Bill Battle's office, who was the head coach at that time, and I said to the secretary, I said, what does it take to walk on the football team here? And she said, I'm not sure. Would you like to talk to Coach Battle? I said, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, I'm sitting in Bill Battle's office. I couldn't believe it. And he's talking to me and said, well, this is what it takes here. Let me take you down. Well, they had freshman football back then.
Right.
So he walks me down the hall to Kurt Watson and Don McCleary, who were the freshman running back coaches. I was a fullback. And they put on this film of how the offense is going to work, and Condredge Holloway is coming in as a quarterback, and this is what the fullback does. And I'm just going, this is unbelievable. I mean, I'm a nobody, and they're treating me like I'm one of the highly recruited guys in America. They walk me back down to Bill Battle's office. He hands me a workout sheet, and he said, if you can get in school, we'd love to have you walk on. I'm going, wow. I said, I just couldn't imagine cold calling Woody Hayes or Bo Schembechler or Bear Bryant and being treated like this. I said, this is unbelievable. So I did a little research before we left, and I called my dad, who was down in Texas, and I said, Dad, I think I'm going to walk on at Tennessee. He said, Tennessee? I said, if you're going to walk on at a big school, you need to walk on at Ohio State. And I said, well, Dad, it's cheaper for me to go to Tennessee out of state than Ohio State in-state.
Wow.
And his next comment was, go Vols.
Right.
And so that's how I wound up at Tennessee. So I played freshman football.
Yeah.
And,
so this is 1972.
72. 1972.
Number 34.
Yeah. Well, you took whatever jersey they gave you.
Okay.
So, yeah. So anyway, I carried the ball 9 times for 36 yards and caught a pass against Alabama.
Okay.
But we played Notre Dame. I mean, it was cool. We played Notre Dame here at Neyland Stadium.
Are these like 4 to 5 game seasons, or how many games?
I
think
we played 6 or 7, something like that. We played Georgia Tech. We played Kentucky. Played at Alabama. And it was great. And I got to play. But at the end of the season, I had to decide, do I really want to do that? Because they already told me they were going to redshirt me the next year if I came back. And then that meant then you get 2 years of them recruiting over the top of you. And, how much do you really love it, and how much – and I knew I was never going to be a great player. And so I just decided I needed to probably move on and do something else. But I cherished those days and playing at Neyland Stadium and getting to play and carry the ball and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I still have friends from that freshman team that we still stay in touch with. So it was really good memories. But that's what got me here. And but then I decided to stay and got a chance to work with John Ward and with the Vol Network and developed a bunch of stuff. It's interesting. I've never applied for a job in my life.
Really?
No, never sent a resume in, never sent a tape in, nothing. And everything, doors just seemed to open. And
right place, right time.
Well, it's interesting though. One of the best lessons I learned. I was a Cub Scout. Were you a Cub Scout?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Did you do the Pinewood Derby?
I did.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Of course.
So you get a little block of wood and you carve it into a race car, and then everybody races their cars. Well, I was in Fort Worth. I guess I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. 1962 is when it was. And so you do the math, go backwards, figure out how old I was.
I'm terrible at math.
I am too. So anyway,
I'll just say it was 10 years before college.
My brother wasn't an athlete. He could have been, but he had flat feet, so it was hard for him to run. So he got away from athletics. But he was into model airplanes and that kind of stuff. So he gets his block of wood about a month before everybody else. And he starts working on it in our carport there in Fort Worth. He's carving it down and shaving it down and putting lacquer on it. And he even got a fan and developed a wind tunnel to see how the wind would go over the top of this car. I mean, he was big time.
He's testing for wind resistance.
Exactly. Wow. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is cool. This is unbelievable. He's putting all these stickers on it and weighing it and boring out the middle of it, putting the lead in there to make sure it's the right weight.
Yes.
I'm going, this is amazing. So it was the day of the Pinewood Derby. And we have a den meeting. My den mother, who lived right down the street from us, gets us all together and gives us the instructions about what's going to happen that night at the Pinewood Derby. And she goes, well, put your cars up here. Well, I didn't have a car. I mean, my brother, I'm not going to compete against my brother. He's got the greatest car that's ever lived. And so the dead mother goes, Bob, where's your car? I said, well, I don't have a car. I can't beat my brother. He's got the best car. Well, you're going to try. Here's a piece of wood. You got an hour to make it into a race car. I said, he's had a month. I said, well, you got an hour. Do the best you can. So I took my little Cub Scout knife and I whittled around the sides and kind of smoothed it over a little bit. Took some sandpaper and smoothed it down. I couldn't bore out the middle and put the lead in it like you're supposed to. So we just taped a bunch of quarters to the seat with masking tape. Got gold spray paint, spray painted the thing gold, and stuck the plastic wheels on the side, and that's my race car. You know, they're only about less than a foot long, I guess, something like that. Just a little, block of wood. But I had my car. Now my hands are all got gold paint all over them because the thing's not even dry. So we go to the Lions Club. They're in Lodge. They're in Fort Worth, and that's where the big race was. So you had the big ramp. You put your car on top of the ramp, and you throw the lever, and down your cars go. Well, they put my car up there, the ramp, throw the lever, and I win the first heat. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So they put me back up there. Now I'm in the semifinals. And they put my car back up there, and they flip the lever, and my car goes down. I win the semifinals. And now I'm in the finals against my brother.
Your brother.
Of course. And so they put the cars up there at the top of the ramp. Everybody that's handled my car has gold paint on their hands. They flip the switch. There goes my car. Gets about 2 or 3 feet away from the finish line, and the left wheel falls off, but it skids across the finish line just ahead of my brother.
Wow.
And I win the whole thing. And I still have the trophy. It's about maybe 6 inches tall, but I've still got it, and I show it to my brother all the time. Every Christmas when I see him, I show him that trophy. But that den mother taught me one of the best lessons I ever learned, that you might not win, but you got to compete. You got to try. See how good you can be. And I don't know if I would have had the guts to come down here and walk on the football team or be on Channel 10 or do Jefferson Pilot games or try and follow a legend like John Ward if that den mother hadn't taught me that really valuable lesson, that you got to try. You have to see how good you can be. And you're not going to win all the time, but you need to try. And she taught me a great lesson.
That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's part of why I'm here today. It's like, who are you? Like, you have a podcast? What's the name of your podcast? Southern Character? What? I'm going to try.
Sure.
And
give it a shot.
We're going to see what happens. So you're at Tennessee. You walk on the freshman team. You're in the College of Communications.
Right. I'm studying public relations.
Public relations.
Because I figured that'll open a lot of other doors. If I didn't know what broadcasting was not even on the radar screen.
Right.
I mean, I knew I wanted to do something in sports. I thought maybe I was going to be a sports writer. But I walked into an opportunity. We have a AA baseball team here in town, and they used to play over at Bill Myers Stadium. They were the White Sox AA foreign team back in the 70s, the Knoxville Sox. And so a bunch of us knuckleheads, college students, loudmouth, out of control college students, we go over there one summer night to a game, and we buy our ticket, and we go down, and there was maybe 500 or 600 people there at the game, something like that. And we go down and sit right behind the dugout in the box seats, which were back then rusted folding chairs, And so the usher comes up and says, I'm sorry, guys, you can't sit here. These are box seats. Well, there's nobody here. Why can't we sit here? Well, these are 50 cents more than the regular tickets. Well, that's an outrage, 50 cents more to sit in box seats. So for some reason, I still haven't figured it out. Me and this other guy, we go storming into the owner's office, just fit to be tied because it's an outrage. They're going to charge poor college kids 50 cents more to sit in the box seats. Well, the owner of the team was there, Neil Ridley. And before I walked out of the office, I talked myself into a summer job working for the Knoxville Sox.
Okay.
And I was the assistant general manager. I was the number 2 man on a 2-man staff. And I put the flag up. I sold hot dogs. I popped popcorn, took guys to the doctor. I took the uniforms over to get cleaned every day, put the flag up, turned the lights out. Loved it. There were a bunch of guys on those Knoxville teams back then that made it to the big leagues that even made it better. So now I'm going to be I figured out my career path. I'm going to be the general manager of the Chicago White Sox. Okay. That's going to be it. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to learn all I can. And when I get out of school, and I'll go work for a minor league baseball team, work my way up, and this is going to be it. So then I decided, well, I was making $100 a week, working about 80 hours a week, and I thought, but I loved it. I mean, it was the best summer job I ever had. But I thought, if we get more people to come to the games, maybe I'll get some more money. Mm-hmm. And so I started writing up little 30-second voicers, and I'd call them into all the radio stations and TV stations that would answer the phone. Back then, all the radio stations had full-time disc jockeys, 24 hours. There wasn't any of the satellite stuff back then. And so a bunch of the stations would take the calls, and they'd play it on their morning newscast or whatever. And out of the blue one day, WIVK Radio here in town, which is the biggest radio station here in town, they called me, and they said, listen, we run your reports, and you sound pretty good. We're looking for a part-time sportscaster. You interested? I said, sure. I didn't know how to do a sportscast or anything at that time.
So this is while you're still in school, though?
Yeah, I'm still in school. Okay. It's like 1974.
Right.
And in fact, the Sox in '74 won the Southern League Championship. Mm-hmm. So it was a great time to join the team. So now I'm going to school. I'm working for WIVK Radio, and I'm working for the ball club at night, and having a great time. So I keep this up while I'm in school, and I'm working at WIVK. But now I got to make a decision because I got to get a job. I'm thinking about getting married and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go to Nashville because the baseball meetings were in Nashville. I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to get a job in baseball. And so I'm in my car getting ready to drive out of the parking lot, and Bobby Denton, who is the general manager at WIVK, is on a news break, and he's out there smoking a cigar on the front porch at WIVK on Kingston Pike there. And he goes, where are you going, hotshot? I said, well, I'm going to Nashville to get a baseball job. I got to get a full-time job, Bobby. I'm starving over here at IVK. He said, well, we just bought a radio station in Nashville. And he said, our sports director here is going over there to be the sports director there. Why don't you stay here and be our sports director? I said, okay. So that's how I got into radio, is doing just – if he hadn't stopped me, I would have gone to Nashville and been in baseball. But I just happened to get a job in radio.
So you're the sports director for Knoxville.
Yeah, WIVK, yeah.
As that progresses, so you get into in the 80s, right? 1989. Is that when you start doing basketball and you start picking up? When I was
working at WIVK, I was doing high school football. They started doing high school football games, so I was the voice of the Farragut Admirals.
Nice.
So it was really good. And then
you made it.
Yeah, I said this is great. Doesn't get any better than this. So then at that time, WIVK didn't have UT Sports. So they wanted to show UT. They were interested. Mm-hmm. So suddenly there's this basketball coach named Pat Head, and she's got a little women's basketball team at UT that's starting to be pretty successful. And so they went to the Final Four one of those years. And so the guys at WIVK say, well, if we start carrying the Lady Vols basketball games, the postseason games, that'll show UT we're interested in doing football and stuff. So they did, and I was part of the broadcast crew. John Ward and A.W. Davis did the play-by-play, and I did pregame, halftime, postgame because I was the voice of WIVK. Well, after a year or so of that, Ward decided that he couldn't do both men and women, and so I got the Lady Vol job.
Nice.
And
you called like 6 of her.
6 national championships, yeah. But nobody anticipated that Pat Head would turn into Pat Head Summit and be what she – I mean, when I first started doing games, 100 people at Stokely Athletic Center was a great crowd.
Right.
And nobody envisioned her filling up Thompson Bowling Arena and, going on to do what she did.
Dude,
and
38 years, like 8 national championships.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And so I went all over the country calling games, all these championship games, and so I got a lot of experience. And I never viewed it as women's basketball. I viewed it as SEC basketball. And, I was getting paid – first year I got paid $15 a game. And I had to take my gas.
You're kidding.
No, $15 a game. And if we had a road game, I had to pay they didn't cover my expenses.
Wow.
So I would drive down. Like if we played Georgia, I'd do my morning sportscast on WIVK. We'd get done at like 8:20, get in the car, drive to Athens, do the game, get in the car, drive back, be there at 6:20 the next morning to do WIVK sports. So, but you loved it. Same thing. We played at Kentucky. I would drive to Lexington, do the game, drive back, do the morning sports, and so it was. But I loved it. I'm just a young kid. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I love it.
Well, I mean, again, like I'm just trying to frame this all out in my head. road trip, how long does it take to drive from Knoxville to Lexington? Is it
about 3 hours?
Okay,
3
so
hours.
4 hours.
Yeah,
at least.
3. Columbia's about 3.5. I mean, there's a lot of Nashville's 3.
Yeah,
So
Athens isn't too far away.
No, that's 3.5 or something like that. So they're all drivable, doable, but
and you're young.
Yeah, and I couldn't do it now. It'd kill me if I did it now. But back then, it was exciting.
Yeah,
I mean, it was exciting. This was great.
So, at what point along the way do you meet Tammy? Do you meet Tammy when you're
high school?
Okay, so Tammy's high school.
Yeah.
High school in Texas?
No, in Ohio. I was in Ohio.
Okay,
I moved to Ohio in 4th grade.
Gotcha.
So I met her in Ohio. I was a junior class president at Fairmont West High School, and my dad. I wasn't going to the prom. I didn't have any money, so I'm not going to the prom. And so my dad calls me from Texas 2 weeks before the prom. Says, "Who are you taking to the prom?" Well, I'm not going. I don't have any money. So I'll give you some money. No, that's not. I'm not dating anybody. I said, listen, you're the junior class president, you knucklehead. You got to go to the prom. Mm-hmm. There'll be some girl sitting at home on Saturday night dying to go to the prom, and you don't have to marry this girl. Just ask one of them to go to the prom. That's your responsibility as the junior class president. I said, well, okay, I'll do it. Well, I didn't. So the next week, he calls me the next Saturday. Says, okay, hotshot, how's the prom coming? Oh, it's great. We got all the committees. I don't care about that. Who'd you ask? Oh, I haven't asked anybody yet. And there's this dead silence. Listen, I'm serious. You're the junior class president. You need to go to the junior-senior prom just to represent the junior class. I said, well, Dad, that makes sense, but there's really nobody I want to ask. Well, you need to find somebody tonight. Go ahead and ask him. Of course, I don't. So Wednesday he calls me. All right, who'd you ask? He said, I'm serious about this. You got an hour, and I want you to call 3 girls, and I'm going to call you back in an hour, and I'm going to get the phone numbers of those girls, and then I'm going to call them to make sure that you called them. Oh. He was pretty serious about this.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So the first girl I called was Tammy, my future wife. And I said, Tammy, what are you doing on Saturday night? Well, nothing. Would you like to go to the prom? And there's this dead silence. I would love to go to the prom, but I'm not going to the prom with you since you're calling on Wednesday. Which I didn't blame her. I would have been mad too.
It's fair.
So she shot me down. She turned me down, and I called 2 other girls that I was pretty sure had dates. And but the fact that she had that spunk to blow me up and turn me down like that kind of impressed me a little bit. I didn't want to face her the next day at school, but I did see her. But we eventually patched things up, and we went to the prom my senior year, and then we eventually got married. So
okay. So did she come to Tennessee as well?
She went to Kentucky for the first 2 years because her sister went there. So she went to Kentucky, and then after 2 years, she transferred down here. And then we got married shortly after 1978, shortly after I got out of school.
Yeah, because you guys have been married over 40 years now.
Oh yeah,
forever.
I'm like you. I don't do math, so don't ask me how many.
I'm terrible at math. I wish I could do the Will Hunting thing in my head.
Me too.
So you get on the nose of a rocket with the Lady Vols, right?
Yeah.
They're wildly successful. And then in the 90s, that's when you had the foray into the Jefferson Pilot SEC.
Well, back up a little bit. Okay. So I'm working at WIBK.
Yep.
And in 1980, Scott Sams, who was the sports director at Channel 10 here in town, leaves to go to Dallas to be the Regis Philbin of Dallas television. So I get a call from Judy Jenkins, who's the news director at WBIR. Mm-hmm. She said, Bob, we're looking for a sportscaster. We want to know if you want to come over and audition. I said, well, I'll come over and audition, but I've never been on TV. There's no way you're going to hire me. I don't even know which end of the camera to shoot out of.
I have a face for radio.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's, well, we hear you on WIVK and doing Lady Vol basketball and all this other stuff you're doing, and we think you do a good job here. I said, all right. So I figured somebody had called him and said, listen, throw Kesling a bone, just at least audition. Yeah. And I asked Bobby Denton, my boss at IBK, I said, should I take that job? Well, yeah, if they offer it to me, you ought to take it. So I said, okay. So I go over and audition. After the 6:30 newscast on Channel 10 was over, I walk into the studio. I didn't even wear a coat and tie because they're not going to hire me. I've never been on television. What are they doing? And so I took my script from WIBK that afternoon. And, when you do radio, that's 10 seconds, that's 15 seconds. Right. You just kind of figure it out. So I knew they wanted me to go 3 minutes. I knew I had about 3 minutes worth of stuff. I didn't have a prompter or anything. I'm just, going like I do on radio. You just talk through your notes. Mm-hmm. So the red light comes on, And I started this Bob Kesling, and I'm here with sports. And I talk about a couple things and do the deal and wind it up saying this Bob Kesling Action 10 Sports. And Judy Jenkins comes out and says, "We did a pretty good job." I said, "Oh, well, thanks." She said, would you want to do it again? I said, "Well, I don't." It was one of those days, you know how it is when your mouth works.
Right.
And then sometimes your mouth doesn't work.
Yes.
You've been through there.
Been there.
We've all been there. And so sometimes it just comes out and you couldn't do anything. Well, this is one of those times there was no pressure on me. I couldn't have done any better. So I asked her, I said, "Did I go too long?" She said, "You went 2:57.
Wow.
I was supposed to go 3 minutes.
Right.
So, I
You
felt
nailed it.
pretty good about that. Yeah, I nailed it. So I left. She said, "We'll be in touch." Well, I knew what that meant. They'll never hear from these jokers again. Well, they called me the next day, and they offered me the job. And I said, "What job?" She said, "We want you to be the sports director." I said, "What, you want me to run the department?" "No, we want you to anchor the 6 and the 11 o'clock sports."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I've never been on television. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do anything." "Well, we think you've got a chance to be pretty good, so we want to hire you." So I asked Bobby Dent, and I said, "Bobby, I don't even know how much I should ask for. I'm making $10,000 a year at WIVK, getting rich in radio like we all do." And I said, "How much should I ask for?" And he said, "They won't double your salary. They won't double your salary. So ask him for $16,000. I said, "Do you think they'd pay me $16,000 to do it?" He said, "Yeah, well, I don't know if they will or not, but that's what I'd ask for. They'll probably talk you down a little bit." But you go ahead. I'm going, wow. Well, I'm thinking that's a $6,000 raise. I'm great.
That's a huge raise on $10,000.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
That's
I go
60% raise.
So I go back over to WBIR, and they said, "Well, we want to hire you. How much is it going to take for us to hire you?" And I puffed my chest out, and I said, $16,000. And they go, "Here, sign that right there. Don't leave. Don't get up till you sign that." So I'm going, Denton.
Yeah, you left some on the table there.
Denton. So I take the job, and before I go on the air, they send me to New York to do promos with the CBS sportscasters about the upcoming NFL season. So I'm staying. I've got one sport coat to my name, and so I take my only sport coat. I go to New York, and we're staying at the Marriott Marquis, and we have dinner at the Gallagher Steakhouse. And I'm looking around the room, and there's all these big-time sportscasters from all over the country. And here I am, 26 years of age. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done a sportscast in my life. I have nothing to relate to these guys because I don't. They're telling all these great stories about coaches. I haven't done any of that stuff. So the next morning we get up and go to Black Rock, CBS headquarters, and there's a room, and there's got 3 stools, a producer, and a camera guy, and I've got a script, and the script says, "Hi, I'm Bob Kesling of Action 10 Sports, and I'm blank of CBS. Watch the NFL on Action 10 and watch Bob Kesling," this typical promo deal. And then they said you can ask these guys some questions if you want. And so the door opens, and here comes Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire, the number 1 team from CBS. And I'm going, and Pat Summerall filled up the entire door. I mean, he's a very, big guy and, really carried himself. "Hello, Bob, I'm Pat Summerall." Well, I knew exactly who he was. So I said, and I was talking about 6 octaves too. "I'm Bob Kesling." I was all excited, geared up, So anyway, watch Bob Kesling on Action 10 and watch Pat Summerall on the NFL on CBS and on Channel 10 and blah, blah. So then I could ask him some questions. And so I asked him some questions. And then they leave. And then the door opens again, and here comes John Madden and Dick Stockton. This is before they matched up Summerall and Madden.
Okay.
Year before. And Madden comes, "Hey, Bob." I've never met the guy. "Hey, Bob." And he's throwing me around the room and beating me up and this kind of stuff. And I'm going, I said, "I'm Bob Kesling, and watch John Madden and the NFL on CBS. And watch my buddy Bob on Action 10 Sports." And blah, blah. And he's throwing me around. And so then we get done, and I ask him a couple questions. And they leave. And I'm going, my head was spinning. And so the producer goes, "Bob, you really did a really nice job with all of this." Said, "I think you're the youngest guy here. How old are you?" I said, "I'm 26. "Wow. How long have you been in the business?" I said, 30 minutes. About 30 minutes. Yeah. That was it. But you know what? That producer gave me so much confidence. I mean, a producer from CBS said I did a good job. That gave me a lot of confidence.
Of course, absolutely.
And so I always remembered that. And so now when I see young guys trying to do something or maybe, doing projects or doing an interview or whatever, I always try and go out of my way to tell them that they did a good job, because I think that they need to have that little boost of confidence, because that producer from CBS gave me a lot of confidence that I could do this. And so then I come back to Knoxville and I figure out how to edit, I figure out how to shoot a camera, and I figure out how to do sports, and so it was a great learning experience for me.
Yeah. So the Den mother,
yes,
and the CBS producer,
exactly,
big influences on your life.
Exactly.
So then, talk about a little bit about how you forayed into the Jefferson Pilot Sports SEC.
Well, that was another interesting deal. It was 1989, and the SEC tournament was right here at Thompson Bowling Arena. And Jimmy Rayburn, who was the executive producer, called me about a week or so before the tournament, and he said, one of our guys has got another assignment, and we need somebody to interview players in between games and be a sideline reporter for the SEC tournament. You've got to be here for all the games. The only reason I'm calling you is because Channel 10 is carrying the games, and if it was on Channel 6, I'd be calling their sports director.
Right.
But the only reason I'm calling you is because you're on Channel 10, and I don't have to put you up in a hotel, pay your per diem, or pay for an airplane ticket. And that's the only reason I'm calling you.
Right.
Do you want to work? I said, absolutely. So that's how I got my break into Jefferson Pilot. And Lindsey Nelson was a great broadcaster here. Of course, he formed the Vol Network. He's from Columbia, Tennessee, came to Tennessee, then went on to his national career as one of the greatest broadcasters ever. But when he retired, he moved back here and lived up on Cherokee Bluff, and he overlooked the campus. And I got a chance to really get to know him and have a good relationship with him. And I would always pick his brain about stuff. And he told me one time, he said, when you're in this business, you're going to get one break. Are you ready for the break? Have you worked hard enough to take advantage of the break? And when Jefferson Pilot called me, I kept thinking of that story, that this could be my break. And so I thought I'd worked hard enough at my interviewing skills and being able to talk to people and report and do things and tell stories. And that was a big break. So I did the tournament that year. I did it the next year. And then the following year, I started doing a pregame show and doing halftime and postgame stuff for Jefferson Pilot. Tom Hammond and Tim Brando were the primary play-by-play guys, but I'd still learn a lot from them just watching. And so in '92, we were getting ready to do the Tennessee-Kentucky game, basketball, Rupp Arena. And they called me the week of the game and said, Tom Hammond just got an assignment with NBC to do an NBA game or something like that. He can't do the game Saturday. Can you do the pregame show and the game?
Oh, wow.
Well, I said, well, sure. I didn't know if I could, but yeah, I said, sure I can. Yeah, absolutely. So first network play-by-play TV game. I'm sitting in Rupp Arena, senior day. Kaywood Ledford, who was the legendary Kentucky announcer, this was his last game. He was getting ready to retire, his last home game at Rupp Arena. It's Tennessee and Kentucky. Allen Houston's warming up behind me. Kentucky's got Pelfrey and Farmer and Rick Pitino and all those guys.
Absolutely.
Dan Issel is my color guy, the all-time leading scorer in Kentucky history. And we're sitting on stools at midcourt at Rupp Arena. Kaywood Ledford and Ralph Hacker are over here to my left. Kaywood's doing his last game. John Ward's sitting on my right. I'm in the middle of Rupp Arena. They're playing my old Kentucky home, and Dan Issel is sitting next to me. And I'm going, this couldn't be any better. If I get hit by a car going to the parking lot, I'll be okay because it's not going to get any better than this. And it hit me just what a great profession that we're in and the fabulous places and exciting things we get to do. And I kept thinking, how many guys out there would love to be sitting right where I'm sitting right now and getting ready to do a Tennessee-Kentucky game on TV and at Rupp Arena, and I'm just going, I'm just one of the most fortunate and blessed guys that's ever been around.
Yeah.
So, but I took advantage of it, and then I got to do more play-by-play for Jefferson Pilot, and that set me up when John Ward decided to retire, that I was in a place to to take over for him.
Yeah.
Fortunately for
Yeah.
me.
So in '99, you take over as lead announcer.
Yeah.
And so like last 25 years, right? Am I doing that math right? 26 years. Sorry.
26.
Again,
That's all right.
Terrible with math. Yeah.
But it was a tough decision.
Yeah.
Because everybody tells you don't be the guy that replaces the guy, be the next guy.
Right.
You're never going to be able to replace a legend. Look how many guys have failed trying to replace legends. And so I had a tough decision because, I'm at the number 1 rated television station in the state of Tennessee, working on Jefferson Pilot, doing SEC Games of the Week. If I resign from this, there'll be 400 people with the resumes out the next day because that's what a great job that is. And now I got this Tennessee job. Do I want to be the guy that replaces John Ward? Do I really want to take on that burden and be there to the criticism you're going to get that naturally is going to come your way. You have to know that because you're not John Ward. You're not doing it the way John did it, and we don't like it because we're not used to this.
Did you have a lot of that? Did you experience it?
I never read it.
Good.
And I never. If somebody would write me a letter or write me an email and sign their name, then I'd respond to them. But just the random social media, I never really dealt with that. And Doug Dickey, the athletic director who hired me, took me to lunch. First day I was on the job here. Now it's July 1st, 1999. I don't have a football game till September. So I'm not really sure what the heck I'm supposed to be doing between July and September, which I eventually figured out what I was supposed to do and did. But he took me to lunch that first day. And he said, now, Bob, I'm going to tell you something. He said, you're going to have people that are going to come out here and tell you you're the greatest announcer that's ever lived. Well, that's not true. I mean, you're pretty good. You're around here. He moved his hand up and down like on a scale. He said, you're not up here, but you may be around here somewhere. He said, now you're going to have some people tell you you're the worst announcer that's ever lived. Well, that's not true either. You're not all the way down here. You're somewhere around here. He said, you're somewhere. So all I need you to do is go out and do the best job you can, and there's only one person you got to please, and that's me. As long as you please me, you're in good shape. Don't worry about any of that other stuff. He said, you're going to get praise, you're going to get criticism. Just do the best job you can. And again, that was the best bit of advice I could have ever received because it was so true. It's look at the presidency. We can't figure out who our president. I mean, the country's divided up.
All right, let's get into that.
No, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
we can't decide on anything
Right.
where everybody's going to agree
100%.
on something. I mean, it doesn't matter. And TV shows. I mean, some people like them and some people don't. Yeah. And it's the same thing with announcers. Some people think they're great. Some people don't. I mean, I used to just roll my eyes at people that would criticize guys like Lindsey Nelson or Vince Scully or something. I'd go, what are you talking about? These are the best guys that have ever. Keith Jackson used to get criticized a little bit. These are the best guys that ever did this. I mean, they set the bar where you do this kind of stuff. So you have to understand, no matter how good you are, people aren't going to like you. And that's what you do.
As you're coming up, you mentioned 26 years old, you're sitting with Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Yeah.
We all gravitate towards a certain style. Was there anyone that you kind of like idolized or tried to parrot a little bit, or no?
Not really.
Okay.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. My dad, I was talking to him when I took the job here at Tennessee. I said, there are a lot of people that are going to expect me to do the John Wardisms. Give him 6, and did he make it? He made it. All the stuff that John used to do. He was a master at doing it. I mean, John just had the flair for the dramatic that I really don't have because it would sound phony if I did it. So I was talking to my dad about how I should handle all this stuff, and he said, "Well, let me tell you a quick story. There was a man that was taking some material to the next town, and his car broke down, so he had to use a donkey and a cart, and he loaded the stuff, and they take off. Well, as he's going down the path, there's this little boy that wanted to go with him. So he said, okay, so the little boy and the old man, they're going down the path with this material. Well, the little boy gets tired after a while, so the old man picks the little boy up, puts him on the back of the donkey. They're going down the path, and a guy comes the other way and says, little boy, I can't believe you're riding on the back of that donkey making that poor old man walk. So the old man gets the little boy, brings him off, then he gets on the donkey, and they go down the path. Some guy comes the other way. Oh, man, I can't believe you're riding on the back of that donkey making that poor little boy walk. So the old man reaches down, picks up the little boy, puts him on the back of the donkey, and then down the path they go. Well, a guy comes the other way and says, oh, man, little boy, I can't believe you guys are both riding on the back of that poor old broken down donkey. And they get off, and they felt sorry for the donkey, so they started carrying the donkey across the bridge, and they lost their grip, and they dropped the donkey into the river. And my dad said, you know what the moral of the story is? I said, Dad, I have no idea. He said, if you try and please everybody, you're going to lose your ass. So just go out there. Said they're not hiring John Ward. They're hiring Bob Kesling. So go do the best job you can. And in this situation, you had to have the confidence that you could do the job. I was not like I was somebody they're bringing in from California or Colorado. I mean, I'd been around Tennessee. I'd been on the Vol Network. Mm-hmm. I've been doing Jefferson Pilots, so people, they knew who I was. It's not like I'm a total stranger. But you also had the confidence, if it didn't work, you could get another job.
Right.
And I had that confidence.
Yep.
And so when your alma mater calls, it's different. And when Tennessee called, I gave up really a terrific job because I thought I was getting to a better job. So and it's worked out that way.
Yeah, for sure. So present day, Vols overall, football, we'll start with football, 10-2.
Yeah,
right, this
pretty
season.
Good.
So based on the rankings, at least that I saw this morning, because I checked them this morning, Tennessee would play Ohio State in the playoff, which is interesting because your dad is
challenge. Yeah,
challenge.
And I've never done a game at Ohio Stadium. That would be fun.
Okay, so you haven't done that. And then the winner of that game, I guess the way it's slated right now, plays Oregon. And then
but
you
all
there.
this is going to change by next week.
So yeah, I just kind of I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on how this might play out?
I'm just glad that on this my last year at Tennessee,
yes,
that you're going to be part of history. I always say I called that first year they had the expanded playoffs. I was able to call one of those.
That's
games.
got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, and so since I've been the lead announcer, we haven't won an SEC championship, which kind of surprised me when it started in '99 because we're coming off a national championship in '98. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, well, I'll win a couple of SEC championships. We played for it a couple of times. We haven't won. I'd still like to go to the Final Four with the basketball team in men's, and we got it. Well, Tennessee going to be number one.
Yeah, I mean you're in the top 10 right now, top 5.
Well, net ratings number one, and probably going to be with all the upsets this past week, probably number one next week. Yeah. And I think it's Rick Barnes' best team. So we got a great chance to go to the Final Four. So I'd like to check those two things off, but
because you're retiring at the end of the basketball season.
Yes, at the end of basketball, and the thing is. The fun part of this is when you actually, as you know, you put the headset on mm-hmm. and you go broadcast. Mm-hmm. All the other stuff, the prep work and the travel, and that wears on you a little bit.
That's a grind, right?
But when you sit in that booth and they run through the T here at Tennessee, or you hear the crowd roar, it's special. Yeah. And we get a chance to help a lot of people and do a lot of things. We take a lot of this stuff for granted. But, there are people all over Tennessee that have never been to a game at Neyland Stadium, and you don't mm-hmm. think about that. But people are wide-eyed when they walk into the stadium because it's so big. So we had a thing at Kingsport, and it was called the Big Orange Caravan. And so I get there, and we have the coaches there, and lots of fans, and it's an autograph session, and you get to hear from the coaches, and it's a lot of fun. But there was a young man that they said he wants to meet you. I said, okay, that happens a lot. But and as I got close to the young man, I noticed he had a cane. He was blind, and his name was Ryan. And I said, well, Ryan, it's nice to meet you. He said, well, it's nice to meet you because you're my lifeline to Tennessee sports. I listen to the Vol Network every single game, and you're how I know what's going on with Tennessee sports. I said, well, I appreciate that. We try and do the best job we can. I said, who are you with here tonight? I said, I came by myself. I said, what? He said, yeah, I just took an Uber over here, and I just wanted to hear what the coaches had to say. And I said, Ryan, have you ever been to a Tennessee game? No, I've never been to a game. I said, would you like to go? Oh, I'd love to. So we're going to make that happen. So for the Kentucky game this year, I got him tickets, and his grandmother and her husband brought him to the game. He sat in the booth with us up on the top deck, and he had a headset on. And so he had one of the ear muffs, or what do you call it, the earphones, headphones. He had one on his ear, on his left ear, mm-hmm. but the other one he didn't put over his ear because he'd never heard the crowd. He'd never heard the band. He'd
that's
never
amazing.
heard the fireworks
What a
going
great
off.
experience.
He'd never heard, or he said he felt the team running through the tee. He visioned what it would look like, but he felt it, and he felt the crowd. And so and I'd look up to him during the game, and he had this big smile on his face. And as I was leaving the booth to go down and do the post game, I said, "Ryan," did you enjoy it? He said, "This was the best night of my life."
I bet.
Yeah. So we get to do stuff like that. We don't think much about it, but the impact that you have on other people that live and die with this stuff, that's the really neat part.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, as I said earlier, if you got a chance to help somebody else, you have the right to say yes.
Right.
And so we're going to try and get Ryan to a basketball game too if we can.
I'm sure he would appreciate
Sure.
that. You talk about all these amazing experiences, right, that you've got to experience both in Neyland, in Thompson-Boylan Stadium, around the SEC, and God knows where else. What are like one or two of your, whether it's football or basketball, outside of Neyland or outside of Thompson-Boylan Arena, like what are some of your most memorable sports moments with Tennessee?
Well, I think one of the biggest was when we went to Memphis and basketball and beat Memphis there at the FedEx Forum to become the number one. First time the basketball team was ever ranked number one in the country, and that was such an emotional night because it's in-state battle and it's Memphis, and it was just a great feeling. Probably another one was, and I was working with John at the time. I was his spotter, but the '85 Sugar Bowl when Tennessee knocked off Miami down in New Orleans, because that was just an incredible deal when they took over the Superdome, and that was great. Beating Alabama down in Tuscaloosa in 5 overtimes with Casey Clausen, that was an incredible night. Winning at the Orange Bowl against Miami and ending their long winning streak down there on a Saturday afternoon, that was a lot of fun. But I also remember the players and the coaches I've dealt with, and
like who stands out to you as like people that you just
Jason
thought
Witten
got it right?
Jason Witten was one of the most outstanding people I'd ever met. Of course, naturally bumping into Peyton Manning so much, but Eric Berry was just an outstanding person to be around. And in basketball, Chris Lofton and Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, and just on down the list, so many just unbelievable guys that you get a chance to meet, and you know how special they are because they have a special talent, and they've worked hard they've been blessed, with some natural ability, but they also worked hard to get here. So that's what's so fun now about seeing guys that come back and come up to you and talk to you, and they tell you about their family and tell you what they've done and where they've been, and the relationships that we had when they were here. Dane Bradshaw was a great guy to get to know. Dane, he would keep saying during his interviews. He said, well, I said, Dane, you got to cut that out. So I started taping interviews with him, and every time he said, I'd stop it. I said, you cut it, and use a period. Don't say because is just trying to carry you over till you collect your next thought and say the next thing. So I said, quit saying And so we kept working on that, and now he's with the SEC Network and one of the best announcers they've got. So take pride in that. Charles Davis, I remember sitting out on the front steps at Gibbs, and he was trying to say, I would think I really want to be a broadcaster. I said, well, let's see if we can work with you a little bit and help you. And so I was able to make some calls and give him an audition at Jefferson Pilot, and look where he is now with CBS. So those are the things that you appreciate. I had Courtney Lyle is another great story here. Courtney, her dad, Paul Lyle, is the one who called me and hired me at WIVK. And she was eaten up with broadcasting. And so I had a broadcasting camp once here, and she took that camp when she was 15, and she was the best broadcaster we had in the camp. So she comes here, works through our program downstairs, and then she goes to Macon and becomes a number 3 person in Macon. Worked her way up because a couple guys left, and I think she became the sports director there. But then a job opened here at Channel 10, and so I made a couple calls and got her back here because she wanted to come back to Tennessee. So I got her at Channel 10, and then we started doing these SEC Plus games, streaming games. And I thought, well, we need to have a female do play-by-play for the Lady Vols. So I called Courtney. I said, Courtney said, we want you to start doing play-by-play for the Lady Vols. Well, I want to be a sideline reporter. No, you don't. You want to be play-by-play. And so anyway, we brought her over here. We did the boot camp. And so I was her color analyst, and she was calling play-by-play and getting ready to do TV stuff. So we did it Monday and Tuesday. Brought her back on Thursday. And so after our little session on Thursday, I said, well, how do you feel? Well, I feel pretty good. I said, well, great. You got the game on Sunday. What? I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? You're perfectly fine. I mean, you're not going to get any better until you start doing games. Do the game Sunday. Oh, okay. So she did the game. She did great. And then ESPN calls, and she's one of their top announcers in ESPN. So you just get that great feeling of satisfaction if you could help somebody along the way. Whatever, how much you help. I don't know how much I helped Courtney, but I feel good about the fact that she's having just a great career, and that's what you're supposed to do. So let's pay it forward.
So as you look towards retirement beyond the basketball season, I mean, first of all, like you've alluded to this. What a way if you're going to go out. I mean, with
might as well go out with a championship.
College football playoff. I mean, Tennessee's, like you said, ranked number 1. I mean, what's next for you and Tammy? Are you guys sticking around town? Or are you going down to Florida? Like, what does retirement look like for you guys?
We both our kids live here, and they've got their families, and they're going 100 miles an hour.
How many grants do you have?
We'll have a 5th one coming in April.
Wow! Congratulations.
It'll be 3 boys, 2 girls, and
that's a good mix.
Yeah, and so, but one of the things that led me to the decision, for example, my 2 grandsons are 11 and 9, and they played football on Saturdays. I didn't get to see one of their games this past year. Yeah. And I just decided I don't want to miss those anymore.
Right.
And Tim Priest, who did the games with me a long time, he suddenly stopped because his grandson was playing football down in Atlanta. And he was, I guess he was a sophomore playing. And, the sophomores didn't get to play a lot. But Tim was up here getting ready to do a game, and his grandson intercepted a pass in his sophomore year, and Tim said I wasn't there, and I don't want to miss him anymore. So, and that really hit home with me that you've only got just a small window here. These my grandkids are going to be married before you know it. So I need to be around them as much as I can, and that kind of led into the decision. But we're financially set, and my daughter's a financial planner, so she's made sure that we put money in the right spot, and we haven't really blown a lot of money. We want to do. My sister's a Metropolitan Opera singer.
Your sister is a Metropolitan Opera singer.
Yes,
wow.
in New York City.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she sings.
That is a big deal.
Yes. Well, she sang 18 years at the Met. She's now teaching.
Okay.
But she, of course, when the Met wasn't in session, she would go over to Europe and sing, and that. So she thinks I'm a hillbilly because I haven't been to Europe yet. So we're going to go to Normandy, and I want to do that and some other stuff. And so we'll take some trips. I'm a big baseball fan, so I'll probably go out to spring training with the Reds and go up to Cincinnati a bunch. But I don't have anything. The only thing I know for sure is my wife has told me that I'm limited to 1 hour of Seinfeld a day. So she's going to put the clamps on me.
You can literally binge Seinfeld all day long if you want to.
And I do sometimes.
Is that your favorite show? Seinfeld?
Oh my gosh, yeah. When the Bubble Boy or the Merv Griffin show comes on, I still sit there.
The Bubble Boy.
I laugh every time I see that.
Will you be joining the Neal and Navy, or are you already a part of it?
No. Vol Navy, I won't do.
Okay.
I'm probably not going to buy a boat. My sister's got a boat, and we're trying to get her to move to Knoxville. She lives in Arkansas right now. After she left the Met. So if she brings her boat over here, we might cruise down the river. But right now I have no plans on joining the Vol Navy. But because they say the best thing when you buy a boat, the best thing is when you sell it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So I'm not
something like that.
Yeah. So we don't have any big plans. We haven't really talked about. My wife's still working. She works at a doctor's office. Okay. She's a scribe and she loves it. And she has no plans on quitting. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm so busy right now getting ready for basketball games. I mean, we're going to New York next week, so I'm so busy and I haven't really thought about it. But I'll stay busy. I'll stay. I'll probably have some work to do with Goodwill and Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Yes. I want to volunteer and be charitable work in the Boys and Girls Club. But I do a golf tournament up in Greenville. We're getting ready to build a brand new building up there, so I'm really excited about that. So there's a bunch of stuff I'll do.
Okay. Well, I brought you a pre-retirement gift.
Oh, what's that?
So it's in the box. I'm going to open up the box here. And actually, I got something for Tammy in here too. So I know you.
How much is this going to cost me?
It's not going to cost you a thing, and you don't have to do anything with it. So you didn't say that you're joining the Neal Navy, but I have a couple of koozies for you.
Oh, okay.
So Retire Southern koozies.
There you go. I'll do that.
For whether it's a bubbly water or a carbonated beverage,
Yes.
whatever you take. But anyway, this is the real gift. If you're a guest on Southern Character, you get a choice. We have 3 different hats. Navy and khaki is called the classic. Green and black, this is the campfire. Blue and white, I call this one the coastal, but you have the Retire Southern patch on the front, Southern Character on the back. Which one would you
I'll take
like?
this one, the black and gold.
Navy and khaki.
Navy and khaki.
The classic.
Okay, that's good. That's what I got.
Last question I have for you.
Yeah.
As you can tell by looking at me, I love a good meal. Don't miss too many of them. And I'm a barbecue guy, but if I was going to say, where should I go for the best barbecue in Knoxville? Or like, James, if you're here for lunch, go here for lunch. It doesn't have to be barbecue. Where would you send me?
Well, the best restaurant in this area is in Maryville at Foothills Milling Company.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to sit down,
I'll be there tonight.
high-priced dinner, but it's great.
Okay.
Unbelievable. If you want barbecue, of course, Calhoun's is right down here on the river, which a lot of people go to. But there's also a place called Dead End Barbecue.
Dead End Barbecue.
Dead End Barbecue is probably where I would send you first.
That's where Bob Kesling would go.
That's where we do our show there on Monday nights, so I'll give them a plug too. But it's still, their burnt ends are really good.
Well,
So,
you just set up my afternoon for me.
there you go.
So I
Dead End
appreciate
Barbecue, and then Foothills Milling out in Maryville will be great.
Well, I'll definitely check those out. I'll just close it out with this. If you've enjoyed this episode of Southern Character, please share it with family and friends. Be sure to visit our website, retiresouthern.com. Subscribe to our monthly newsletter so you don't miss anything. If you have any questions or feedback, reach out to me, James at retiresouthern.com. Bob, thank you so much for being a guest today.
James, thanks. And you got me thinking about what I need to get going as soon as the basketball season's over, and I'll do that. Thanks.
Appreciate that. And everyone else, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.